everyone. In this video, we are going to start with the biology portions of grade 12 from CBSE syllabus. And the chapter number 1 is reproduction in organisms. So let's begin with that. We all know that there are different types of living organisms present around us in our surrounding. Okay, and all these living organisms, they actually belong to different species. And we also know that no living organism present around us is immortal. That means every living organism which takes birth one day has to die one day, isn't it? Now, if the death is natural, okay, if the death is natural, then the time period between the birth and the death of an organism is actually known as lifespan. So you can see here it's written here lifespan. So lifespan is nothing but the time period which begins from the birth and ends with the natural death of an organism is known as its lifespan. Okay. So for example, you can look here at the picture. Cow, the lifespan of a cow is around 18 to 22 years old. Okay. And then we have this tortoise. The lifespan of tortoise is 80 to 120 years old. Okay. And then for crocodile, it is 70 to 80 hundreds. For elephant, it is 60 to 70 years. And for butterfly, it is just 8 to 12 months. And if you look at this mosquito, this insect, it has the lifespan of only 28 days. Okay. And this parrot has the lifespan of 80 to 150 years. Okay. And these trees, which are generally found in, hilly regions, mountain areas, it has the lifespan of 100 to 200 years, isn't it? So you can see here these organisms, they belong to different species, and the organisms which belong to different species, they have different lifespan. Okay, they can live for different number of years. Okay, based on their species. Now remember, no organism present on this earth is immortal except unicellular organisms. Okay, because for unicellular organisms there is no natural death. Okay, this you will understand further in this unit when we will learn about different types of reproduction. You must have studied about this even in the lower grades. Okay, that in asexual reproduction, these unicellular organisms like amoeba, paramecium, bacteria, the parent body itself divides and give rise to new offspring, or divides and give rise to new daughter cells. Okay, so we can say that the parent body has actually given rise to new daughter cells. Okay, so there is no natural death of the organism. Understand? Now we know that on everyday basis or daily basis, many animals are, or many organisms are present around earth which passes away, they die. But still we know that they don't get extinct. Okay, for example, if there is a street dog in your locality or in your area and the dog is dying, a dog passes away on one day, and we know that we can easily find out different dogs which belongs to the same species, isn't it? Why? Because there is a particular process which actually ensures the continuity of species from one generation to to next generation. Okay, so there is a particular process which is actually known as reproduction. And reproduction is a process which actually ensures the continuity of species from one generation to another generation. And because of this process only, because of reproduction process only, for any type of species, okay, there are many organisms which belong to one particular species. For example, when we talk about human beings, and when you talk, just think about India, the current population of India is around 130 crores. So why so many human beings are present on earth, or particularly in India? Because of the process of reproduction. Okay, so reproduction is actually a biological process by which an organism will give rise to new organism, and this new organism is always similar to the parent. Okay, the meaning of this term is this particular phrase, like similar to itself, is a dog can give birth only to a dog. Okay, a lion can give birth only to a lion. A new plant, for example, a rose plant is there, so that will produce seed, and the seed will give rise to another rose plant only. Okay, so that means the organisms which belong to one particular species, after performing the process of reproduction, will produce new organism of the same species. Okay, it can never happen like two cats, they mate with each other and they'll give rise to or they will produce a rat. That's not possible. Okay, so that's why it's compulsory to write in the definition of reproduction that it's a biological process by which an organism will give rise to new organism, and the new organism produced is always similar to the parent. Okay, and the new organism produced is also called offspring. And remember, reproduction process ensures continuity of species generation after generation. So this is because of reproduction process that, organisms of different species are able to survive on earth generation after generation. And another very important point that why reproduction is important is it leads to genetic variation. This point actually, this reproduction leads to genetic variation. About this in detail, you will learn in chapter number 5, principle of inheritance and variation. So we'll talk about this there. Just only one point which you have to remember is there are two types of reproduction, sexual and asexual reproduction. So this particular point is valid only in the case of sexual reproduction. In case of asexual reproduction, there is no genetic variation. Okay, as there is no fusion of gametes, no genetic variation. So now in brief, we will just look into the two types of reproduction. There are two types of reproduction. I'll explain this these points to you in brief, as you're already aware of these two types of reproduction and you have already studied about these two types of reproduction in your lower classes. Okay, so the two types of reproduction are asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, as the name suggests, asexual means the process in which no different sex are involved. No different sex means no different genders are involved. There is no male and there is no female. Okay, only one single parent is present. So asexual reproduction involves single parent. But when we talk about sexual reproduction always involves two parents. Okay, and these two parents belongs to opposite sex. That is, one parent is male and one parent is female. Then in case of asexual reproduction, no fusion of gamete takes place. Okay, the fusion of gamete do not occur because obviously as there is no distinction, or there's no division between the gender or the sex of the parent, so gametes are not produced. Okay, so it do not require or it do not involve fusion of gamete. But in case of sexual reproduction, always fusion of gamete occurs, and this is because the male parent and the female parent, they both produces gamete. Okay, you already know, you have studied in lower grades. Females, they produce egg cell or ovum, and males, they actually produce sperm. So fusion of this male and female gamete takes place in case of sexual reproduction. Then we have third point, which is offsprings produced by the method of asexual reproduction are always genetically identical to the parent. Okay, this I have already told you in the previous slide, like there's no genetic variation. And in detail about genetic variation, we'll learn in chapter number 5. Okay, and in case of sexual reproduction, the offsprings produced are genetically unidentical. Okay, they're genetically different from their parent. And you can logically think about this because in case of sexual reproduction, two different parents are involved. Okay, and in case of asexual reproduction, again, no genetic variation occurs, and here genetic variation occurs. And in case of asexual reproduction, only mitosis type of cell division occurs. Okay, and in case of sexual reproduction, both mitosis and meiosis type of division occurs. Okay, this is because you have studied in grade 11 about different types of cell division. There are 3 types of cell division: amitosis, mitosis, and meiosis. Okay, now we know that mitosis is equational division, in which for example a cell is there and that cell is dividing and producing 2 more new cells. So the 2 more new cells which will be produced, okay, these 2 cells will also have the same number of chromosomes as parent cell. Okay, but in case of meiosis is known as reductional division. So in case of meiosis, for example, there is a particular cell, and the cell, human cell, and the cell is having 46 chromosomes. And when this cell will divide and produce 2 daughter cells, So each cell will have 23 chromosomes. Okay. So both the type of divisions, mitosis and meiosis, occurs in case of sexual reproduction. When it occurs, you will learn further in this unit. Then asexual reproduction is a very fast process. Okay. For example, when we talk about asexual reproduction in case of bacteria. Okay. So one bacteria is there. This bacteria will um, divide and produce two new bacteria or two new daughter cells. Okay. So one bacteria almost divides in 20 minutes. Okay. So this asexual reproduction is a very fast process, but sexual reproduction is a very slow process. And you all must have seen, like, in case of human beings, when a female gets pregnant, okay, and so the complete development of fetus inside the body of female takes around 9 months. That is like, 38 to 40 weeks. Okay. So hence we can say that sexual reproduction is a slow process. And some of the examples where asexual reproduction occurs is bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, and then lower invertebrates and chordates. Okay. And sexual reproduction mainly occurs in higher animals and plants. So in next video, we will learn in detail about asexual reproduction and different modes of asexual reproduction.